Hello, this is Bunton with your last two topics at Visual Functional Maths NT3 level, after which I'll give you revision papers to do under exam condition. Don't worry, I'll give you the instructions next week. I'll also provide answers for you to check on your paper, and then on the basis of that, assuming you're going to be successful, and I don't see why not, you'll be ready to take your entry 3 exam and then to proceed on to level 1. These topics are charts and graphs. You might not realize it, but they are probably subjects you will come across time and time again, depending on your career path. If you choose to do computing and information technology, then you will have to do them at college and university level. You will not believe how useful graphs and charts are until you start using them. So, these are the topics we're going to cover. The purpose of tallying, what charts are, how do we present them in table forms, what are graphs, and why are they important. There are keywords you will come across which by the end of the lesson you will know their meanings. Remember, I told you keywords are important, and you have to make sure you know the meaning of all the keywords in maths if you want to be successful. Chart, graph, tally, frequency. You will get these meanings as we progress. Let's look at tally charts. Tally charts help you record what you've counted. It minimizes error and almost guarantee accuracy. Tally charts are good if you need to count something. For example, the number of different birds in a park. It's a very useful research method. Each line in the chart is called a tally mark. If you look at the chart in front of us now, in this case, you can put one tally mark for one bird that has been seen and counted. To find out how many of each bird has been seen, you count up the tally marks. So you can see that you have to do some groundwork, some preparation before you can successfully do a tally chart. If you look at the chart there, you see 5 different bird species, and you see the tally. Each of those tally tells you the number of birds that were seen at that particular time frame. So there are 2 robins, 3 blue teats, there is 1 sparrow, and there are 3 pigeons and 6 seagulls. In a tally, every 5th mark crosses a group of 4, like what you see on the board for seagull. So if you look at the tally for seagulls, you'll see that there were actually 6 seagulls counted. Once you've done the tally, you have to produce a frequency table. Frequency tables are like tally charts, but they have an extra frequency column. Frequency just means how many, and a frequency table makes it easier to see how many there are in a certain category. You remember, frequency is one of the keywords we have to learn about. So we've learned about tally, we've learned about frequency, we've learned about chart. You can add another column to the tally chart above to make a frequency table. You fill this in by counting up the tally marks of each bird. So whilst we've done the tally, it's not very easy to tell you how many of each birds we've seen with just the tally. The tally is just a sort of a step in the right direction. But when you add the frequency column, then you can easily count the tallies and put your total. This is very, very useful when you have to do a large number of data. So if you have, let's say, like 20 robins, 50 bluebirds, 10 sparrows, etc., etc., because you're counting them in fives, after every 4 you put a stroke across to make 5, it's just an easy process of counting 5, 10, 15, 20. Check the frequencies. The total should be the same as the number of tally marks of birds. So you do not only count it, but you can easily cross-check by counting the tally itself, and then you check how much you've put for each species of bird or any other data you're collecting. How to draw a tally chart and frequency tables. You follow the steps. To draw a frequency table, you first need to draw a column with all the possible categories, like the birds. Then you need a tally column where you count how many there are in each category. Finally, you draw the frequency column and fill it in by counting the number of tally marks in each row. Once you have finished your table, you should check that you have all the results by adding up all of your frequencies. It's a very neat and systematic way of doing things, don't you think? Let's look at this example. 10 friends are voting for which takeaway they should order from a choice of Chinese, Indian, Mexican, and Thai. Here are the results. Nick, Thai. Rick, Indian. Diego, Indian. Tom, Chinese. Helen, Mexican. Sarah, Indian. Johan, Thai. Mark, Thai. Mike, Thai. Tomal, Thai. As it is, it's very difficult to organize it. And if you use a spreadsheet, you can sort them out by basis of their choices, but that is a little bit awkward. So if you want to do a sensible thing, then you draw up a tally chart of that. How would you do it? You are to draw a table to show this information. The table will need space for all of the takeaway options and each person's vote and the frequency of each option. Let's look at how you'll do it. There is a solution. Each tally mark shows one person's vote. Cross off each piece of information as you record it to make sure you don't miss any or count any more than once. Check that all results have been tallied by looking at the total frequency. It should match the number of people asked. 10 people were asked, so if you look at the total on the frequency column, the total is 10. If you look at the takeaway option, you'll see all the food on the menu: Chinese, Indian, Mexican, Thai, and then in the middle you have your tally. So from the counts, each count is a tally, and then when you finish, you total them up together. Note that the type of table you need depends on the information. Here's a practice question. Number 1. A travel agent does a survey to find out what people's favorite type of holiday is. The travel agent collects people's answers in a tally chart. By the way, to collect people's answer, you can do a questionnaire or you can interview them, but you need to make sure you have your tally chart available for your count. A. How many people said that a beach holiday was their favorite type of holiday? B. 6 people said that their favorite type of holiday was skiing. Fill this in on the tally chart. What is the most popular type of holiday? So for B, skiing, you need to look whether there is any tally for it already. If not, then you have to fill it in by first doing the tally. Okay? Practice question 2. A groundsman is collecting information about the types of tree in a park. He writes down the type of every tree in the park, and the table below is a list of them. Pine, oak, cedar, yew, beech, yew, beech, cedar, oak, cedar, yew. A. Complete the frequency table below using the information above. How many cedar trees are there? How many oak trees are there? You'll find out that it's pretty straightforward, but it can be a little bit challenging having to systematically do your tally chart. But if you do it properly, you'll find out that you get used to it. Bar charts. What are bar charts? A bar chart is a simple way of showing data or information. Data is shown on a bar chart as bars. The height of each bar represents the frequency. What are frequencies? The number or the total number of each item. This is a bar chart showing daily ice cream sales. If you look at it closely, you'll see the different parts of the chart. That's the bar. At the bottom, the day of the week, that is what the activity for the week. And then you see there the sale, which is you must always give your investigation a name, a suitable name. And then on the side there, you see your frequencies. Okay, you've got from 0 to 10. So all you need to do is get your frequency, and maybe if you have the spreadsheet, you use it. If not, then you'll have to count each of them, and then you use a graph paper and you draw your bar chart as I've done. Is there any missing one? Yes, there is one. That was on Tuesday. What do you have on Friday? You have 9 sales. So it shows that we're approaching the weekend and all the children are after school and they've gone to the park or to the beach or to the cinema where they eat a lot of ice cream. Yummy. Questions on ice cream sales bar chart. So the height of each bar shows how many ice creams were sold each day. Just read across from the top of the bar to the number at the side. You can draw a line if it helps. Dotted line will help you a lot, or colored pencil. For example, on Wednesday, 6 ice creams were sold. The tallest bar is on Friday. This means that more ice creams were sold on Friday than on any other day. There is no bar on Tuesday. What does that mean? Yes, it means that no ice cream was sold on that day. Probably that's the day that the ice cream seller was preparing his product for the weekend. There is no bar on Tuesday. This means that no ice creams were sold on Tuesday. The bars for Wednesday and Thursday are of the same height. That means they both days had the same number of sales. This means that the same number of ice creams were sold on Wednesday and Thursday, and that is what you're looking for. Completing bar charts, and these are the steps you need to take. You need to know how to represent data on a bar chart. Use the frequency table to find how many things there are in the categories you're drawing a bar chart for. Draw a bar chart so that the height of the bar is equal to the frequency in the frequency table. Now here we are, you've got the tally or frequency table on the right, and then you've got your bar chart on the left. So the table on the right shows how many parking tickets a traffic warden gave out in a week. So here's the bar chart. You can look at the frequency, which is up to 22, and then you can see the day of the week. This bar chart on the left was drawn using the frequency table on the right. You see day of the week, number of tickets given out. The unfinished bar chart on the left shows some of the data. Use the data on the table to complete the bar chart. So that's a good exercise. So check which days you already have and then fill in the bar charts for the days that have not been filled in yet. So here's the solution. On Tuesday you have about 18, and then on Thursday you have about 10 tickets given. Okay, so make sure you read it properly, look at the day of the week and follow the chart right up to the frequency at which it hits, and then you've got it. And be consistent, make sure you leave reasonable space in between so that it is easy to read. There are different types of bar charts. If you're doing bar charts in groups, categories, then sometimes it's useful to group them by their family group, if you like, for different days or times, as the case might be. Here are two practice questions. See if you can read them carefully, follow the instructions I've given you, and answer the question. If you look at, make sure you look for Thursday, whether there is any missing frequency for Thursday. If there is, then you have to fill it in. But most importantly, read the questions carefully. Practice question 2. Again, a town council has built a new library. They're asking local people how they felt about the library. This is very common anyway. The unfinished bar chart below shows some of the results, and then you need to make sure you complete the frequency, the bar chart table to show your result. Okay, let's go on to graph now. Graphs can show how things change over time, and the best way of showing that is through a line graph. A perfect example which we always use is population change over the past 10 years. Okay, so the line graph are used for showing things that change over time. For example, distance or temperature or population change, as I mentioned earlier on. Data is shown on a line graph as a line. Let's look at the example of how the height of a firework launched into the air changes over time. Here, a firework is launched into the air. The line graph shows how the height of the firework changes over time. And then you've got the time there in seconds. That is the time it takes to travel, I think, and lose power. Okay. Each course is a piece of data. For example, the course at 2 seconds showed that the fireworks is 40 meters high after 2 seconds. The course at 5 seconds shows that the firework is halfway between 20 and 30 meters high after 5 seconds. This means it is 25 meters high. So that's the example. Look at the table. The red line shows how the line graph is used to get the information we need. You can use line graph to estimate the height of a firework at any time up to 6 seconds. For example, to estimate the height of the firework at 4.5 seconds. Estimate is a reasonable guess, but it's the best thing we can use when we're trying to do some investigation or research or make some decision about what we're doing. Draw a line up to the graph from 4.5 seconds, halfway between 4 and 5. Then draw a line across to find out the height. It's between 30 and 35 meters high. So it's probably around 33 meters. Note that I use the word probably. So that shows you that it's an estimate. It's a reasonable estimate. Some people call it an educated guess. Practice question. The line graph shows how the temperature in a garden changed during the morning. What was the temperature at 8 in the morning or 8 a.m.? Estimate the temperature at 9:30 a.m. and that is your information. So all you need to do is to get your pen or pencil or colored pen or pencil, get your line graph, you can draw it out, and then you measure it. Or if you can just watch it on your screen if you've got good eyes to use it. I would advise you to use your laptops or your desktops when you're doing this work, because you'll find out that your mobile phone might not be big enough for you to see all the data and the information you're working with. If you have a tablet, yeah, of course, that's reasonable. Completing line graphs. To complete a line graph, you need to plot the points and then join each point to the next with a straight line. So it's called plotting a line graph. An example, the speed of a rally car was measured every 3 seconds for 15 seconds. The speeds are shown in the table. Plot the speed on the graph below and join up the points to make a line graph. So you've got your time from 0, that is before it starts, or just when we are about to start, and then every 3 seconds, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. What does that remind you of? Your 3 times table. Remember when we were doing numbers, when I told you that it's useful to be able to count in multiples, okay? And then the speed, miles per hour. At 0, it is 0 because it's stationary. At 3 seconds, it's 35 miles per hour. At 6 seconds, it's 65 miles per hour. At 9 seconds, it's 90 miles per hour. At 12 seconds, it's 105 miles per hour. At 15 seconds, it's 115 miles per hour. You can measure the progression as you go along. Let's see what we did. And there's a solution. Okay? Read it carefully, and then you'll see the rate at which the car accelerated as it progresses. Once you've plotted the points, join them with a straight line. All you have to do here is to just do the graph, but there's a lot you can read in between, because don't forget that it's every 3 seconds. So you can check, for example, after 1, 2 seconds, the speed, maybe after 4, 5 seconds, the speed, and so on and so forth. Practice questions. The table below shows the temperature of a cup of tea in the 20 minutes period after it was made. Immediately it was made, it was 95 degrees. Then, if you look at it, every 4 minutes, the temperature drops. So how do you think that line graph will show? Will it be going up or will it be going down? Look at the frequencies and tell me. A. Use the axis above, draw a line graph to show this data. Estimate the temperature of the tea after 10 minutes. And then estimate the difference in temperature between 6 minutes and 14 minutes after the tea was made. So those estimations are the number of minutes that are not shown. But if you look at the frequency, 10, 8, 12, 16, 20, the number patterns will tell you. It will be an estimate, but it will be a reasonable estimate. Practice questions. Question 2 has got 2 questions, A and B. Follow the example we've just done. Be systematic. and this is about reading these questions or doing an estimation on the basis of what you see. Now, for our lesson summary, what have we learned? Let's look at it. Tally is used to record what you are counting. You use the tally to produce a tally chart. Tally charts are used to produce frequency table by extending the tally charts from 2 columns to 3 columns and then with the appropriate heading. Tally charts enables us to produce accurate charts. We now know how to produce tally charts frequency tables. Different charts and graphs serve different purposes, like the acceleration rate of a car, like the cooling rate of a cup of tea, like the rate of acceleration of a fireworks display, and so on. Bar charts are used to compare data. Line graphs are used to show changes over time. That is the end of visual and functional mathematics at NT3. Next week we're going to do some exam type questions. You're going to time yourself, you retain your records, and then the following week I'm going to show you the answers so you can assess yourself and have a reasonable idea of how much you have learned. Okay? Over the next few weeks, I would make every effort to make sure I give you the information you need if you want to take the Functional Skills NT3 exam in mathematics. And then when we get back, I'll tell you when, we will start with level 1, visual functional maths at level 1. For those of you who have not got all your tools of trade yet, by that I mean your equipment, please make sure you have them. A scientific calculator. If you get a textbook, that's useful, but I don't think you really need that because I will be producing your materials in the form of a video and it's based on the textbook anyway. You see. And then your exercise book, your pen, your mathematical set, and your ruler. Try to get a 5-meter ruler in a case because I might ask you to measure a room or someplace. You remember, this is a visual exercise, not just sitting down in one place and doing your work. Okay? Alright then. I'll see you next week.